In this video, we're going to again continue with removing something from a photograph. And here I have a photograph of my daughter feeding a kangaroo in Australia. You can see in the background that there's a hand holding a paper bag, and that's actually what you feed to the kangaroos. But in this case, it really ruins the photograph, because what you want to be doing is looking at this kangaroo feeding from someone's hand and not be looking up at the corner and seeing this. Now, in previous videos, what we've done is grab the lasso tool like this, and we'll just go around, draw a selection like this, click on our delete button, press OK to content aware, wait for it to do its thing. And you can see that Photoshop is having a problem with this kind of delete because there's so much information on the photograph and it doesn't really know how to fill in that background. So I'm going to undo that, get rid of the selection, and this time we're going to use a tool called a clone tool. Now, this is not an automatic approach, but in many ways it's better because you have full control over what the finished picture is going to look like. What we're going to do is make sure in the clone tool you've got a nice big brush. You can see that I've got a brush that covers a lot of area. That's controlled up here. We can make our brushes really small or ridiculously big. In this case, I'm going to go for something around the 300 and something mark. That should be okay. And the hardness really doesn't matter at this moment. So let's just click over there. We've got our clone tool. Now, the clone tool works, of course, by copying something on a photograph to another area of the photograph. So in this case, if I was just to click on the photograph, it would say you cannot use it because you haven't told Photoshop what you want to copy. We do that by pressing the Alt button on our keyboard, and our mouse changes into a target. Now you can see the background of this photograph is very blurry, and that really helps in this case because we don't have trees or buildings or anything like that with detail on it. So what I'm going to do is click on my Alt button roughly in this dark area here. I'm then going to go up, and you can see that Photoshop is kind of telling me what it's going to paint if I start painting. And what I'll do is I'll just paint a little area here. I'm going to press Alt on my keyboard, copy a new area, and just start painting. Now, one thing to note, if you simply were to click with an Alt, go up and start painting, you'd end up painting the original on top of itself, which is what we don't want to do. Let's undo that. So I always find with the clone tool, a little bit slower is better. So I'm just going to keep copying areas like this. Now I'm just going to continue to do that. Now when you're using something like a clone brush and you're zoomed into a photograph, it's always worth zooming out to make sure that what you're doing looks good. In this case, it's not brilliant because I've kind of created this cloud effect of greens. Let's see if we can fix that a little bit. So I'm just going to go back and paint some more dark areas over here like this, just so that we don't get a huge cloud coming up. And I'll paint some light areas as well. Now the thing you've got to watch out for with the clone tool is that you don't create repeating patterns. As that's an easy way to tell that somebody's used a clone brush, is when you see the same pattern repeated again and again on the screen. So what I'm doing here is I'm breaking up a little bit of that dark with light over here. I'm just choosing different shades that I can go in and remove that cloud effect that we have. That's, for me, a lot better. I've also, you can see that I've painted over this reflection over here. So what I might do is just go over here and create a brand new glare. And that kind of solves that problem there. And you can see, once we're zoomed out, you can see that our picture looks a lot better without the bag and even the hair that was blowing in the wind. Now I know this takes a lot longer than just selecting it and deleting it, but sometimes in our photographs we haven't got the luxury of letting Photoshop do it for us, in which case it's really useful to learn a tool like the clone tool to fix those problem areas.